What's going on, guys? It's been a little bit. Have not done a video since Worlds has ended because I went on a trip to Italy. But they just released the dev update for the new season of League of Legends. Now, for what everyone has said, or at least what is being applied, is that there's going to be major changes. And naturally, this is kind of how League has always done things in some sense, because Riot just wants, to keep the game fresh. So basically, all I really know of is that Baron is delayed. Like, it's not going to spawn at 20 minutes. And there's like a new neutral objective. And that's pretty much it. I don't really know too much else besides, like, I guess TP changes. So let's get right into it.
Pabro. We're back with the final dev update of 2024. Today is November 8th. We just wanted to give you a warning. We will be talking about Arcane spoilers in our first section. So if you haven't finished the finale, skip to the time on the screen.
Okay, spoiler disclaimer out of the way. Let's take a moment to talk about Arcane. It's been such an amazing journey to watch the story play out.
Okay.
And like many of you, we're sad it's over. But don't worry, we do still have a few more things in store on the game side. When we got started on Season 1, we got to watch the champions in Arcane live out stories we'd already seen or knew a little bit of. In some cases, we got to really flesh out the backstory of some older champions.
With Season 1, Caitlyn received a visual update to better align the game and the show.
So what they're basically talking about is just, we're gonna, make these changes towards champions that are related towards Arcane.
Disabling him because he's dead.
Well, hold on. I think you're onto something with killing Gangplank and other characters. Okay.
That was terrible, by the way. When they killed Gangplank and he could not be played in a professional play, he appeared when no one could have any practice on him. Dumbest thing.
Focused on updating his visuals, audio, and backstory.
He looks so stupid, by the way.
Evolution and changes you just saw him go through.
That looks terrible. Okay, I don't know if people actually like this, but I hate it. It looks. I don't like it.
But it'll get bigger with.
I don't like the way he looks.
Until the ult is over. He
looks really weird.
The feeling from Arcane, where he manifests a massive, growing storm that consumes everything around him.
We also updated all of Victor's skins.
That looks pretty stupid.
We do want to point out that because of the updates to Prototype Victor, his price will be increasing from 520 RP to 750 RP. So if you want to get him at the cheaper price, make sure you get it before his updates go live. All right?
Okay.
That's it for the Arcane spoilers. So right now, we'll hand things over to Steph and Chad to talk about seasons.
Okay, so off the bat, like I said, for the Victor change, especially how he looks, I just don't care for that. Like, I love the way current Victor looks. It just has it just has like a raw feeling, like raw power, and like the whole glorious evolution. Like, that's what I was envisioning seeing in Arcane. And then when he finally showed in Arcane, I was like, I mean, I guess it makes sense he doesn't look exactly like how he looks in the game. But he still had like his laser cannon and whatever. And it seems like the only thing they've really changed about him is the R grows when you get a takedown. Outside of that, it's the same champion. It's just he looks so weak and flimsy and probably not something I really care for.
I'm Chad, aka McIver. I'm the seasons lead on League of Legends.
And I'm Steph, aka 100-Piece Nuggets, or the cosmetics lead.
In the last dev update, Medler and Pabra mentioned we're introducing thematic seasons. So today, we're here to talk more about what a season is, what to expect with the theme, and what the experience is.
This guy's a little, like, I'm not gonna lie, this guy's just a little creepy.
Over the years, we've
I'm just getting a little creep vibes from him, but
that's just
probably how he is.
Like Star Guardian, High Noon, or Darkstar. We've
his eyes
highlighted
are
these
just
worlds
bulging.
in moments like summer events or narrative drops around champion.
Has absolutely nothing to do with the League.
Now we want to take that immersion further with our new seasons.
So next year, we're going to have 3 seasons, each around 8 patches long. So we're going to follow champions around different regions of Runeterra. Each one is going to have its own theme, but we're going to have an overarching narrative that connects them throughout 2025.
Okay.
And each season's theme will be the anchor for most of the content going into the game as well.
In the past, we've had these big releases like Swarm or Spirit of Hearthhome. They're super memorable and fun, but they're also not connected to a larger integrated moment. And in seasons, we want everything to connect together. That means things like gameplay updates, modes, mini games, and champions.
They want to have a greater story evolving
from a bunch of skins that celebrate that seasonal theme, but we'll also continue to invest in a wide variety of skin lines that are unrelated to the season as well.
Okay.
So expect to see cosmetics celebrating Lunar Revel or things like bees.
Ultimately, our goal is to immerse you in the parts of the world that we're visiting from the moment you open the client to the moment you see the victory screen and everything in between. So enough tiptoeing around it. We know that you want to know what Season 1 is.
Yeah.
So for our first ever season, we are headed to the land of strength and domination, Noxus.
Okay.
Hey everyone, I'm Riot Froxon, lead gameplay designer for League.
So what does this mean?
I'm Riot Oberon, project lead of the Summoner's Rift team. Next year, when you step onto the Rift, it'll look a little bit different than you're used to. We want Seasons to be a way you can immerse yourself in League, especially once you load onto the Rift. So we have a preview of some of the updates you can expect in Season 1 of 2025.
We're headed to everyone's favorite region of fierce fighters, cloak and dagger magic, and
those
strength
look cool.
above all. Prepare to be decimated. Beyond the Noxian invasion of the map, we've also made some gameplay improvements and changes for next year.
First, it wouldn't be a new season without an overhaul to the item system. Just kidding. But there are some Noxian-themed boot upgrades.
Wait, hold on. Before we get further into this, let me just write down quickly like what's actually happening, because so far we have a Victor VGU with his R being adjusted on takedown throws, right? And then we have 3 rank splits still, with each has 2 8-week like special like event per se, something like that. Okay.
But it's not as simple as picking them up from the shop. In fact, they come along with a new mechanic, Feats of Strength.
There are 3 objectives that your team can claim throughout the game. First Blood, First Tower, and first 3 epic jungle monsters.
Okay, so there's Feats of Strength, which is first 3 like major neutrals, First Blood, and First Tower. Okay, so what does this mean?
If your team is the first to complete 2 of these 3 objectives, so for example, First Blood and First Tower, your Tier 2 boots will transform into new versions with slightly better stats.
What?
You'll also get access to powerful Noxus-themed boots, which you can purchase as a final upgrade. We want Feats of Strength to celebrate—
What the fuck? Huh? Are you serious? If you get 2 out of 3, then you get a, what it seemed like, was that what they said, a free upgrade?
Team is the first to complete 2 of these 3 objectives. So for example, First Blood and First Tower, your Tier 2 boots will transform into new versions with slightly better stats.
Yeah, it's a free, get 8. It is literally a free upgrade of stats. Then can later purchase another upgrade on the boots. In other words, additional scaling. That's nuts. Because, like, obviously, like, the biggest issue is what happens if my bot lane gets destroyed. Level 1, 2. Level 1, 2. And then jungler permazones for first turret. That's it. You're fucked. That's just it. Like, I don't know how snowbally, like, upgraded boots will be in the end of the day. Hopefully it's not the case where, like, steel-plated caps, you know, tabbies gives you additional auto attack damage reduction, because obviously if that's the case, then this will be incredibly dumb. Or like you get additional tenacity. If it's just you get more armor, like if it gives you more MS, it's very good. But if it's just like you get more armor, then it's like not nearly as bad. It's really just to be dependent on like what value they give, and of course whatever the hell these Noxian like upgrades are. But for sure, like, this is the first thing that comes up to me is just, like, in solo queue, there's some things that are just you can't control. And already, like, for the way Herald is spawned, it's at 14 minutes, and usually first turret will probably die by then. Like, it might not, okay, I'm not gonna say it usually will die by then, but you could definitely get it before then. And then at this point, like, how does Grubs affect this? Because is it just dragons? Is it just dragons and Herald? So then, like, you probably would always just be playing on these two. And this one, unless it's like a super slow game where like first tower somehow never falls, then you're probably playing on these two.
Stats. You'll also get access to powerful Noxus themed boots, which you can purchase as a final upgrade. We want feats of strength to celebrate early game successes without immediately snowballing the game out of control. We're experimenting with different types of power progression to see how it feels for a reward in the early game to open up more choices in the late game.
We're also introducing Nexus turret respawning. An incredibly frustrating experience is just winning a late game teamfight only to lose your Nexus turrets. You kept the game alive, but at what cost? Now it feels like your team is doomed to hang around in your base for another 200 years, babysitting an open Nexus. To give your team a better chance at coming back from these situations, your Nexus turrets will now respawn after a set time once they're destroyed. Now, your team can rally for an epic comeback without having to worry about a backdoor cast-in.
They should have changed the animation of the turret shots.
Runes to
They're kind of stupid
of
with those Nox
vision-related
turrets.
options in the domination tree. 6th Sense. Grizzly Memento. And Deep Ward.
Huh?
As well as a new addition to the sorcery tree called Axiom Arcanist, which makes ultimates more powerful. We also couldn't resist changing items just a little bit, so we're adding some small scope adjustments to tank items and adding a new item called Bloodletter's Curse. Well, new-ish. It'll look familiar if you've spent time in Arena. But if you haven't, Bloodletter's Curse reduces the target's magic resistance from repeated spell hits, which is sort of like an AP version of Black Cleaver.
Finally, let's dig into the biggest update of the season, Adakon, Bringer of Ruin.
Hold on, are they gonna get into? I'm just gonna let it play.
Jungle monster
There's some
is
stuff I
drawn
need to
death
write
and
down though.
destruction. He will spawn only once at 20 minutes on either the top or bottom side of the map, whichever side has seen the most champion damage and kills by 14 minutes.
Okay.
To signal where he'll make his entrance, Adakon's arena will spawn, adding new permanent walls to that side of the map.
Okay.
Adakon's dark influence will also cause blood roses to grow periodically in the areas where champions have been killed. More death means more roses.
Okay. What does that mean?
Blood roses drop bloody petals for your entire team, which stack any number of times and last through the entire game.
Huh?
For each petal collected, your whole team gains a small experience and power boost. So if you see one, grab it.
Whoa! Whoa! We need to write this shit down. Also, this... Did they say this thing spawns at 14 minutes?
Periodically, bottom side of the map, whichever side has seen the most champion damage and kills by 14 minutes. To signal where he'll make his entrance, Adakon's arena will spawn, an entire team, which... So if you...
Okay, we might have to come back to that. But, so, there was a whole bunch of runes they talked about. One was being, it increased your ultimate ability, so like your ultimate damage, which, personally, I mean, that sounds pretty amazing if you're playing things like Syndra, where, like, yeah, I just want to have, like, a burst set. It sounds incredible for Ahri. I mean, we'll see, like, how it goes. Deep Ward, I guess it gives your ward one additional life. That actually, so I'm gonna say this right now because I'm just gonna put this one down. Gives ward +1 HP bar, something like this, right? At 1 HP. This screws up scanner CDs / usage. Like this actually will probably ruin. Unless you have like people buying pinks, this will ruin a lot of scan usage and will pop up more wards like to occur. Like more wards will be on the map because of this. Unless more people start going scanner. This could have a much deeper effect on the game. And of course, then we have like new neutral at 14 replaces Herald ? Spawns where most kills action occurs, top or bot, and rose petals from death / on map give the entire team AD / XP. Now, the fact that it's team-wide XP is crazy. I don't know how much XP it's gonna be, but even if you got, like, let's say it's 10 experience, that's 50 experience across the entire board, which is basically almost, what is it? Like, it's like a solo melee minion for everyone. That's pretty fucking awesome. Like, that's actually really awesome.
See one? Grab it.
Otacon has two forms, Ruinous and Voracious. Higher action games spawn Ruinous Otacon, who you might want to fight up close and personal to avoid his constricting rings of damage, which creates the perfect chance for an ace and a steal. Killing Ruinous Otacon grants bloody petals to the team who kills him and spawns a grove of blood roses in the area for anyone to collect. Voracious Otacon spawns in lower action games. He does less damage to his enemies, but, as his name implies, is hungrier. As his health gets lower, he gets an increasingly more powerful drain ability based on missing health.
Oh, that's scary.
The team who takes down Voracious Otacon gets a one-time rebirth buff, similar to Guardian Angel. So now you really have a reason to force that team fight.
We're introducing...
Wait, like the entire team gets it?
Guardian Angel. Team who takes down Voracious Otacon gets a one-time rebirth buff.
Yeah, everyone fucking gets it. Also, just to make sure.
And a steal.
Your team, which stack any number of times and last through the entire game. For each petal collected, your whole team gains a small experience and power boost.
It says power boost, so I'm gonna switch this to adaptive. Adaptive / XP. And also keep in mind, a little bit of adaptive goes a long way. Like if you end up getting like 2-3 AD, especially in the like it does actually matter. It does matter.
You have bloody petals.
So there's like highest action spawn gives tons of petals. So it gives you like even more snowball, like even more snowball. And then what is the other one?
To his enemies, Voracious Otacon spawns in lower action games. He does less damage to his enemies.
Lower action
as
spawn.
As his name implies, is hungrier.
And it gives GA to everyone.
It gets an increasingly more powerful drain ability based on missing health.
That depends. Like if it's like the case where it expires in 2 to 3 minutes,
gets a one-time
then the other one is definitely better. And what is also interesting is if you
really
play a high-paced game, like right now, the way this is like being described, this like specific thing, the way this is being described is high pace, like tanking junglers are good. Like if you are winning already with an early game comp, then the new objective is probably free as well. So bigger snowball than Herald. And the reason why I say it's a bigger snowball than Herald is though Herald is good, because plates now drop, well, like, because they made the change, right, where plates drop at 14 the same time as Herald. So there's, like, no benefit towards Herald outside of getting the turret. And if you're already winning, you probably have the two. So basically, if you play an early game comp, you can get the Feat of Strength, that gives you free boot upgrades, and then further boot upgrades later. Okay, snowbally. Then you have this objective, and if you're winning already and you kill it, then you get an even bigger buff for the game. And so that's, again, more snowball. And especially, like, if you get the free stats, like, you want, if you're an early game comp, like, more stats, it just helps you scale and keep your scale, like, more even against your opponent. So
we're introducing Otacon for a couple of reasons. First, unless you're T1, a 20-minute Baron is pretty tough to get. So we're moving Baron's spawn back to 25 minutes and providing another mid-game macro option in the form of Otacon. Second, based on how Otacon plays out each game, we hope to see more different and interesting game states in both mid and late game. And we feel that designing an objective whose spawn location, form, and rewards are decided by how you play should make each game of League feel more varied.
Our goal is for every game
so Herald's still alive.
To make League better. As we move to seasons,
okay, so Herald is actually still there, which is very weird. That is really weird. So Herald is still there. We don't know how Grubs affect this. So now we have Grubs, Herald, and Advocon, or whatever the hell his name is. This does not replace Herald. Herald plus, I don't know how to say it, Archon are both in the game. So, like, both can be spawned on top side. Which, of course, you know, obviously, if you do a team fight and you kill Herald and then you take this as well, again,
so these changes were designed for the long term.
But how do dragons work?
That said, we'll keep an eye on
like, how does dragon stacking work compared to
but for now,
the overall
Archon
game plan?
And all the other updates are here to stay for good. We can't wait to see how these go as you start your climbs next year.
As part of building seasons, we took a look at how rewards would be part of the overall seasonal experience. That led us to updating our reward systems. That means things like event passes, champion mastery, honor rewards, etc. We felt that this was a great time to address some problems that have built up. We're going to dive into those details, so bear with us.
First, over the years, these systems have become needlessly complex. With an excessive number of currencies, unnecessary steps to craft and claim rewards, overlapping loot types, we could go on. I've been given some key fragments that you have to then craft into a key that you pair with a chest.
I mean, yes, that is really dumb.
To get another key in a chest and some essence that you open up to get a skin shard that you pair with some orange essence or reroll to eventually get a random skin. That sort of level of unnecessary complexity going on.
Secondly, those systems are all scattered throughout the client. What you can earn, how and where you can track it, etc. sucks. And third, events and the rewards being only sometimes available make some moments less rewarding to play League.
So, here are some of the changes we're making. There will always be a battle pass active, with both a free and a paid track.
Okay.
With the price the same as an event pass today. You'll get pass rewards through the tracks, meaning we're removing the event tokens and shop.
There will be 2 passes per season, with them tying into each season's thematic. That means most of the rewards will reflect what's going on in and around the game, and fewer random rewards. We'll have the same number of passes per year at 6, with a longer average duration per pass.
We're also moving most of our scattered reward systems to the free track of those battle passes. So, most rewards will now be in one place, with systems like Honor and Champion Mastery feeding into the pass. For example, having a high Honor level will give bonus to pass experience earned.
You can earn 12 skins per year with the free pass. Half of these skins will be themed to the season you unlock them in. We'll also be simplifying the loot and crafting system. Orbs will always be available, so Masterwork chests, for example, will get phased out since they serve such a similar purpose. Overall, we want the pass to be the core vessel for how you track and earn rewards. If you choose to buy the paid version, we also want it to be very clear what you're getting and how to make the most of it.
Now, these elements have a ton of moving parts to them. There's a lot more details than what we've talked about just here. We'll cover that all in the dev blog that's out right now. Switching gears a bit, I want to talk about another change for next year that isn't quite tied to seasons.
I mean, as long as like the changes towards the rewards is like good, like it makes things easier and it's still like rewarding to do it, sure, why not? Like, yeah, they're not wrong. There's a lot of complexity towards an annoyance that they've like slowly figured out. For instance, like you had to disenchant every single champion one at a time if you had all of them. No one thought to just do a mass disenchant in the beginning.
But instead, by feedback from all of you, ranked resets. These have been a topic of a lot of conversation in recent years, particularly when it comes to feelings around how often you want to restart your climbs, how fast a climb should be, what feels rewarding versus what feels like a grind, etc. And looking back, we don't think 12 resets a year has been the right call for League. So, we're moving to 6 per year. Okay, just kidding. Please, put down the pitchforks. We're going back to 1 large reset at the start of each year with no additional resets.
I mean, this I did here. Like, it's 1
in terms of the size
reset.
Of the January reset, the number of the
That's
games
great.
to climb on
Like,
average, and
even though it's a new split, it's just thank God like you're just gonna be playing against the same people.
That said,
that makes it so much better.
Be 3 victorious skins you can earn, 1 for each season. If you want to earn each skin, you will need to win 15 ranked games during that season. Again, though, neither your visible
that's
ranks
interesting.
nor
You need to win
MMR
15
will
games,
reset
huh?
Except in January.
Next up, we want to chat about a potential replacement for quick play that we'll be trying in some regions. It's called Swift Play, and it's meant to be a lower stakes experience than Summoner's Rift, though with more strategic elements than you'd find in, for example, ARAM. You'll still have the same core elements that you'd expect to find in a game of Summoner's Rift, you know, farming, snowballing, team fighting for objectives, etc. But with added changes to keep all players more competitive, like ramping gold and XP as the game goes on.
Sounds like
Those
Dominion.
changes won't make it so you can suddenly jump ahead of your opponent if you're 0 and 10, but they will make it so that even if you're down, you're never completely out of the game.
The fact that Swift Play is also less punishing when behind should also make the mode ideal for those of you looking to play with friends you wouldn't be willing to put your LP on the line for. As mentioned, Swift Play will be rolling out in January to replace Quick Play in select regions, so we hope you'll give it a try and let us know what you think when it hits live.
I mean, no one I know
Also,
plays
have a
Quick
blog
Play,
dropping
so
today with more details, so be
there's
sure to check that
no
out.
loss there.
And last, but hopefully not least, we've got some changes coming to the practice tool. Over the years, you've told us that it's a useful but somewhat limited way to get better at League. The most common desire we've seen people bring up is to practice with other players, whether it's in one-on-one duels with a friend or on a full teamfight drill with a pre-made team.
Practice Tool wasn't built with multiplayer in mind. And we've had some cautions about how League could be a lot less fun if the optimal way to get better is to spend almost all your time in Practice Tool rather than playing real games.
Come on, bro.
But we do think we've likely been too cautious here.
Yes.
So we're going to be giving multiplayer Practice Tool a try. You should see that on the PBE soon. It's an experimental feature, and we'll probably encounter an interesting range of bugs. That said, though, we're looking into whether we can ship it as part of season start in January. And if that's not on track, we'll give you an update as to where it's up to.
Before we wrap up, one last seasons thing. We'll be changing up how we name...
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna put that down. Riot has promised some shit in the past, but Practice Tool multiplayer on PBE, unsure if going to be released. Obviously, the number one thing is, like, you can practice any 2v2, 1v1 team fight scenario in your head, and makes having a practice squad useful. Like, this makes teams want to have an academy team, or at least employ or have a side team in which you can just run drills. Because imagine if you're having trouble contesting Herald. Like, guys, we have these five champs, these items, like, this is the situation that we kept screwing up on, and so you decided, let's see if we can replicate this. So you get all the same levels, the same items, because I assume it's just gonna be the same where it's like everyone has access to, like, I can teleport here. Maybe not that. Maybe if you do multiplayer, they won't allow you to just be able to teleport wherever you want or have infinite cooldowns, which honestly would be fine, but at least affecting the XP, the gold, that's primarily what you need. So you can set your level, and you can get the items you want, and then you can run to where you need to be and test it. And if that's how it's gonna be, that's incredible. That's really incredible. Like, oh my god, it's actually, this sounds so amazing. I really hope that goes through and, like, pans out, because it's definitely gonna spawn, like, some really cool stuff. Like, I think people fail to realize, like, the amount of practice, like, for instance, a fighting game's, like, professional player, like, they will spend a huge amount of time in the training mode just to work out, like, the frames, to practice combos, to practice punishes, to practice their defense. Like, Tekken, is, to me, is such a huge, like, amazing game in some sense. Like, yeah, it's like, some of the changes made in Tekken 8 is not necessarily the best, but just how they set up the way you can practice against a computer and setting up how they, like, react is amazing. Like, it really does help you get better. So for League, it's like their whole idea of just, like, you should just learn it on the fly while playing games. It just doesn't work that well. Like, you just won't find yourself in the same situation, and it's really hard to, like, replicate things, because it's just hard to replicate things unless you're facing the same person in the same matchup in the same map state. But if you, like, that's, again, that doesn't happen a lot.
Patches to match seasons. So instead of patch 15.1 coming out in January, it'll be patch 25.s1.1, calling out the year, season, and patch number. Season 2 will then kick off in patch 25.s2.1. You get the idea.
Okay, that is it from us today. The next time you hear from us will be in January, at the start of the season. We'll be back then to share some extra stuff that'll come out later in Season 1. We do want to acknowledge, though, that we've covered most of the big changes that you'll see day one next year. That said, still got a few surprises left.
And of course, we'll have the cinematic to kick things off. To no one's surprise, we can confirm that it's also going to focus a lot on Noxus and Noxian champions, but that's all we can share for now.
We hope you all have a great December, great holiday season, and a happy new year. Thanks so much for everything, and we'll talk to you again soon.
So, I wrote this down. I'm going to push this up now, and the primary things I wrote down at the end of the day, you know, this is something I don't really care for, but I guess, you know, rank splits, and then also no rank reset is massive, massive. So this is awesome, really good change. Feats of strength, like I said, it just pushes you to want to have snowball, to pick early game high pacing comps, and to just get these objectives. Of course, there's another route of saying, like, maybe I can play a defensive comp that holds the first turret. Yes, we might get first blooded, but we can hold down the fort on first turret and then play these fights in the 10-15 minute mark and like be able to do like excel. That could be a thing, but generally I think just high pacing just makes the most sense based on what they're trying to do with this. And you know, Herald is still in here, and same with this. And if this counts, again, like I said, if this counts as a major neutral with Herald, and we don't know how grubs interact with this, you know, if grubs are still a major neutral as well, which I can't imagine they are when thinking about it, because it's like there's 3 little ones. Like, how are you going to clarify it? Like, oh, if you take 3, that counts as 1? Probably not. So this is probably just covering the new objective, Herald and Dragons. And so if you take, as long as you take the first dragon leading up to the 14-minute mark, which may actually, interesting enough, this may make grubs less. Well, the only thing is, that's not true. I was going to say this is going to make grubs less important in some sense, because like now you can play the major neutrals. But at the same time, if you get grubs, the grubs enhances the first turret capabilities. So grubs does have its spot still. No matter what, it still has its spot because of this first turret. So it's fine. Okay. Now, I'm still trying to think how this affects like dragon stacking, because yeah, like stacking dragons is of course a core win, like path to victory, especially as an early game comp. And maybe in some ways you would give up the first set of grubs to take the dragon instead, so you have that under your back pocket. Then you fight for second grubs and then go from there. Could be the way that things shake out. Like I said, the Deep Ward Ruin, this is by far the most interesting ruin, like they mentioned, just because it screws up with sweeps. Like, this, you could end up losing like your sweep CDs, and then wards are just up that usually shouldn't be up. They also said nothing about TPs in this dev update, which I hope is addressed when they actually go over them, like the other things. Because if TP is the same thing, then yeah, this is gonna be, this is gonna be a problem. The new neutral, it's cool. I mean, the one with the lower kill spawn, I almost feel like I would avoid it as polling, just because if you get CC'd while that thing's draining you, you're dead. That's it. Like, I feel like it's just an instant loss fight. The highest action one definitely seems way more manageable. So if you can replicate the high amount of kills all the time, then sounds pretty good. And of course, naturally, you know, because it's solo queue, you gotta be really on top of your openers. Like, as a laner, like knowing what you can do and can't do. Because those early deaths, that's gonna be a huge issue. Like, imagine if you're playing Warren versus Fiora and you just absolutely butcher the game as Warren. And so now the Fiora has like 5 kills or something like that. Say it's like something crazy, like they have 5 kills. So the thing spawns topside. So now you're fighting into the Fiora, who's massive, and it just sounds like a nightmare. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then, like I said, practice tool, if they do actually release this, will be massive. I like what they're talking. I mean, I like the ideas that they're bringing out. Funny enough, I remember talking, I think it was in my Discord. I was talking about what kind of junglers I would like to see be pushed more into League right now, just because like the meta has been pretty stale for junglers, and it was ganking junglers. Like, I wanted like Xin Zhao Elise, Lee Sin. Like, I wanted these kinds of guys brought back into action because I think that's just fun to watch. And that's kind of like what they're doing. Because right now, like, just generally, like, Ivor and Sejuani, Maokai, you know, thankfully they removed Rel Jungle a while ago, but like that was like at the forefront. It's always these control, like, bridge picks. Yeah, like, yeah, we sometimes do get the Xin Zhaos. Like at Worlds, we get the Viegos at times, some Kindred, but I really do like a meta that's kind of like shaped around making plays as a jungler. So I'm pretty excited for that. All in all, not bad. Honestly, not bad. At least this does make League seem more interesting. If it means like players are gonna have to give a shit more about their laning, then I'm all for it. So, you know, just let me know what you guys think as well, based on the notes I took and everything. And yeah, until next time, see you guys.